Today I'm in the Isles of Scilly, off the far southwest of the county of Cornwall in the UK. This is the main town, Hope Town, and this is where the ferry comes in from Penzance. If you look across here you can see the white ship, the Solonian. That's the one that comes out of Penzance to the islands. It takes around 2 hours 45 minutes. Here in Old Town we can see across the bay the church and the graveyard. This is the Church of St Mary's in Old Town. This is to Richard Ellis, who died in 1931 aged 83, and his wife Mary Jane Ellis, and they were of Tresco, which is another of the islands that make up the Scillies. Mary Jane, the beloved wife of William Phillips. She died in 1930, aged 64. And then there's William Phillips, who died in 1931. Right at the front of the graveyard, facing across the bay we saw earlier, is Corporal H. Prowse, Royal Air Force, died 1942, aged 26. Just behind him is leading mechanic G. J. Burse of the Royal Naval Air Service, died 1917. Here we've got a little child angel carrying flowers in both hands, and the inscription at the bottom is to Nan Ellen Mary Phillips, the wife of Joseph Saundry Phillips, who died in 1949, aged 64. A little different in design, with the angel I assume on the left, or I don't see any wings. And the family name here is Bigland. We've got Mary Caroline and Charles. Sally, the wife of William Tregear, died 1880, aged 57. And Jane, his second wife. And then William at the bottom, 1897. This is the grave that many people come to the graveyard to see. This is James Harold Wilson. Harold Wilson, who was Prime Minister of the UK for several periods, and he loved these islands. I seem to remember once he was actually rescued when he got into difficulties swimming. So he's buried here, and also his wife Gladys Mary Wilson, or better known as Mary Wilson. So here we are, Harold Wilson, former Prime Minister. Here's one that's got to make you smile. The inscription at the top here says 1824 to 1898. Within this tomb are deposited the immortal remains of Thomas Lemon Hall, JP, his wife, parents and sisters. And then beneath there it says, "Note, no other corpse to be put herein. The ground has been purchased from church authorities." Rather typical of a legal man, I think, a JP, to get a bit bullshit about the terms of his grave. Elizabeth Treweek, the beloved wife of John Fricker, 1894, aged 64. Mary Bastian, 1890, aged 53, and her husband George H. Bastian, who died at Cape Town, 1870, just 35 years. And their daughter Eliza, aged 51, who died in 1915. Richard Taylor, late of the 2nd Royal Veteran Battalion, who departed this life 1842. I've not come across the Royal Veteran Battalion before. There's Richard Taylor, and we have other Taylors beneath that. In loving memory of Margaret, the dearly beloved wife of Robert Bradford of HM Wireless Station, who died in 1917. No mention of Robert himself, but there's space on the stone. Perhaps there was nobody left to get the inscription added. Here is an area where we have 15 of the Commonwealth War Graves memorials. These all appear to be of the Second World War. A poignant one here reads, "A sailor of the 39-45 War, Royal Navy, who is buried on 1944. His identity is unknown." Here we have somebody from the Royal New Zealand Air Force, a long way from home. Flight Sergeant LJS Bush, wireless operator and air gunner. Died 1942, aged 28. And another one taken at random, Flight Lieutenant HCS Page, DFC, Distinguished Flying Cross, pilot, Royal Air Force, 1942, aged 27. This is to the memory of Francis Edward Lascelles Craig, First Lieutenant of the Royal Marines, who perished in the wreck of the Thames steamer on this coast on the 5th day of January 1841, aged 27. Not quite clear what a Thames steamer was doing off the Isles of Scilly, but Francis Edward Lascelles Craig perished at a very young age. This one's tilting forward, but I think we can get the memorial. This is Captain Thomas Jack Scott of Clay, Norfolk, who died of cholera off the port. So that would have been the port here in the islands. James Pender, who was lost at sea January 27th, 1885, aged 34 years. And beneath that we have his daughter, Janie Ellen, and his infant daughter, Emma Marion. I shall need some help with this one. It seems to be Swedish, as it mentions Malmo partway down. But this is Charlotte G. Thompson, and the two dates on there are 1830 and 1848. And here is another war memorial, tucked away from the group we saw earlier, but again it's to a sailor of the Second World War who was buried in December 1939, name unknown. Richard, the beloved son of William and Mary Ann Thomas, he was drowned in 1886, aged 23, and then beneath that is William, another son, and he was also drowned, this time off Java, 1877, aged 21. Here we have the war memorial to those of the islands who gave their lives in the two wars. Two of the faces list those who died in the First War. This is the front face. This is the second face. And between them there are 46 names. 46 just from these islands who gave their lives. And if that wasn't enough, there's a further 26 here for the Second World War who gave their lives. Stands out the partway down, 3 with the same double-barreled surname, Dorian Smith, presumably the same family. This one appears to be in German. It's Clara Just, and the date's in 1846, 1875. If anyone cares to translate that. Up at the top of the graveyard are these two huge memorials which tower over everything on the different levels. So let's go and investigate those two. This is Augustus John Smith, aged for 38 years, Lord Proprietor of the Isles of Scilly. That would explain why he has quite the biggest memorial anywhere around here. He died in Plymouth in 1872 and was buried at St Buryan, Cornwall. So he's not even buried here with this memorial. The one at quite the highest point in the graveyard is in memory of Louise Holtz Meister, who was born in New York, 1851, who lost her life in the wreck of the SS Scilly off the Scilly Islands in 1875. Her body resting in the deep, and this memorial was erected. From the top of the graveyard here, I'll just give you a view back across the bay of Old Town. Tide's right out at the moment. Susanna, the faithful and dearly beloved little sailor wife of Captain William Ashford, who spent 30 years of her life at sea amid the storms and the calm, and died in 1897, aged 77. So presumably she was travelling with her husband on the ships. The church may be open, so let's go and see. Just a very simple chapel, very little decoration apart from the small stained glass windows, and fitted out with these rather hard wooden pews. It was nice to find the chapel open, but not very much of interest there. There were some stone memorials on the floor, rather worn. One was dated 1753. Charles John Mumford, who lost his life at the wreck of the SS Plimpton, 1909, aged 32. And beneath that we have his wife Susan and their son, William Charles Tregarthen Mumford, chairman of the council of these islands. Another of the war memorials, but again away from the group we saw earlier. This is A. Delves, petty officer, HM Coast Guard, 1916, aged 46 I think. This one to John Edwards, who was 27 when he died at Constantinople. On one of the other sides it mentions Ethel Harriet Uren, and she died at Shanghai. On the left here is somebody you will have heard of, but this is not him. This is another Horatio Nelson, 1889, aged 52 years. And on the right hand side is Nicholas Nelson and his wife Sarah. Samuel Downing Tiddy, who died aged 5. Edwin Jenkin Tiddy, who died at Pernambuco, which is in Brazil. And then Thomas D. Tiddy, who died at Calcutta. And those two were aged 19 and 23. They certainly spread their wings from the Isles of Scilly to go to Brazil and India. And just to show that the sea is still taking lives here, Derek Russell Banfield with a picture of a two-masted yacht, 1968, 1997, loved the sea, lost at sea. Well, at this point I'm going to draw a line under this graveyard. There is plenty more to see. Such a picturesque spot. If you get a chance to come to the Isles of Scilly, to St Mary's, then take time to come to Old Town and the church. Till the next time.